This is Amy Waugh, a 32-year-old mother of four from Spencer, North Carolina, who would be shot in the face point-blank range by the father of her four children because she had decided to leave his violent life. In the early hours of June 2, 2022, at around 6:30 a.m., police would respond to a 911 chaotic emergency call. In the background, children could be heard screaming at the top of their voice. The caller tells the responder that there had been a shooting in their home. But nothing prepared detectives for the grim scene they were about to witness. When the authorities arrived at the scene, they were met with the horror beyond belief. Amy Waugh, shot point-blank in the face, lay lifeless in front of her four children who had witnessed the unimaginable. The question that haunted investigators was why. Just moments before the shooting, Amy had made a decision that would prove to be her final one, to leave the man who had terrorized her life. But instead of letting her go, the father of her children chose to end her life in the most sinister way he could think of. But before tragedy struck, let's rewind to 1989 to understand the moments leading up to that horrifying, fateful day.
Okay. And like a small smoke. I do look at the she look good. I think you could. I think you could.
32-year-old Amy Waugh was a mother, a daughter, and a sister who was full of potential, a woman whose life was just beginning to take shape after overcoming many obstacles. Born on December 11, 1989 in Rowan County, North Carolina, Amy's journey was marked by resilience and growth. Growing up in the small town of Spencer, Amy attended North Rowan High School, where she quickly became known not just for her vibrant personality, but also for her exceptional musical talent. As a member of the school band, Amy played the flute, and it was there she earned the prestigious title of First Chair, a recognition of both her dedication and natural ability. Amy's sister Elizabeth often described her as someone who was deeply accountable for her actions, someone who was willing to give her all, selflessly, without expecting anything in return. However, Amy had faced challenges that had sent her to prison. She had endured difficult times, including a prison sentence for a domestic dispute that involved a man, a period that could have defined her in a negative light, but instead it became the catalyst for her transformation. Serving 3 years of a 6-year sentence, Amy emerged from prison with a renewed sense of purpose and a strong character. By October 2015, Amy was determined to turn her life around. While incarcerated, she had earned her GED and worked tirelessly to rebuild her future. She was committed to making a fresh start for herself and her children. And, as you can guess, she did. Upon Amy's release, she found a job driving for Elite 360 Transportation, a company that partnered with Amazon for deliveries. However, through hard work and perseverance, she soon earned a promotion, a tangible symbol of the new direction her life had taken. But it wasn't just about professional success for Amy. It was about providing for her family. Amy was a proud mother of 4 children who were the light of her life. Her eldest daughter, Anisha, was 14 years old, Ash J was 6 years old, and her twins, Eris and Aries, who were just young children at the time of her death. Amy worked tirelessly to ensure her children had everything they needed, balancing her responsibilities as a mother and her growing career. Her children were her world, and she was determined to give them the stability and love they deserved. Amy had big dreams for herself and her children. She had recently been approved for an apartment, marking a significant milestone in her journey, a fresh start that would give her children a safe and stable home. She had plans to move out and break free from the toxic relationship with her longtime partner and father of her children, 36-year-old Antoine Mills, who had been a source of emotional and mental strain in her life. The hope of starting anew filled her with optimism, but tragically it was a dream she would never get to see through. Antoine Mills had been a constant presence in Amy's life. The two had been on-again, off-again partners since their teenage years, and despite the many ups and downs of their relationship, they had 4 children together. At times, they would be spotted on social media sharing moments of fun, playing together, and savoring the simple joys of life. However, the relationship had been anything but stable.
Gon' shake some, throw that motherfucker like you're really tryna break some. Yeah, I got some paper, but this little money ain't nothing. I ain't doing no front, gon' drop low. Letting everybody know what the fuck you in it for, what the fuck you in here for. Drop down, ass up, right cheek, left cheek. Ooh, it's a tip drill. Everybody stuck like time on a standstill. Make that ass go round, round, windmill. Ooh, it looks soft. Damn, I need to touch it. Forgot we in public, so I need to be cool. I got this little paper for you. I ain't tryna be rude. Ain't no sense in being rude. You got me out my body. It's the way you throw your body. It's the way you throw them cheeks. Just really want a piece. Nah, I'm just playing though. If it's up for sale, really don't mind paying though. Little baby gon' shake some. Gon' shake some. Little baby gon' shake some. Gon' shake some. Drop that shit to the floor, little baby. Let everybody know, little baby. Gon' shake some. Little baby, yeah, shake some. Yeah, she working all night like she third shit. Yeah, baby.
Antoine's ongoing battles with trouble and frequent brushes with the law only seemed to stoke the flames of their turbulent relationship. Unfortunately, it was these struggles that may have contributed to the unimaginable trauma he would inflict on Amy. Despite Amy's best efforts to build a better future for herself and her children, she found herself trapped in a vicious cycle of dysfunction and instability. In the weeks leading up to her death, Amy made it clear to Antoine that their relationship was over. She had grown tired of the constant chaos and emotional strain, and she was determined to move on. However, Antoine, consumed by his own issues and possessiveness, had other ideas. He couldn't accept the reality of losing Amy, and his anger began to boil over. On June 2, 2022, just after 2:30 a.m., tensions reached a boiling point. An argument erupted between Amy and Antoine over her decision to leave him. What started as a heated disagreement quickly escalated, with Antoine's temper getting the better of him. Family members witnessing the altercation stepped in to confront Antoine, urging him to leave. For a brief moment, it seemed like the situation might calm down, but that was far from the case. Enraged and unable to process the idea of losing Amy, he retreated. But this brief moment of separation would not be the end. At around 6:30 a.m., he returned to the house, armed with an AR-style rifle. Consumed by rage, he barged into the home and without warning, shot Amy point-blank in the face. In front of her 4 young children, Amy collapsed to the floor, lifeless. The room was plunged into chaos as the children, traumatized and confused, stood frozen, witnessing a violent act that would change their lives forever. The brutality of the moment left them in shock, with their mother violently taken from them in an instant. The brutality of the murder was chilling. Antoine, after committing the act, walked out of the house, leaving Amy's lifeless body behind. He then fled the scene. Just when the pieces of Amy's life began to align, everything came to a heartbreaking halt. She had worked so hard to leave behind the past and build a future, but in an instant, everything was taken from her by the same man who should have protected her. When the authorities arrived at the scene, they were met with a horror beyond belief. Amy, shot point-blank in the face, laid lifeless in front of her 4 children who had witnessed the unimaginable. The question that haunted investigators was why. Just moments before the shooting, Amy had made a decision that would prove to be her final one. To leave the man who had terrorized the father of her children chose to end her life in the most sinister way he could think of. While Antoine fled the scene, the investigation into the murder began. Immediately after Amy's lifeless body was attended to, the police began their search for Antoine. He had left the scene, but they knew his identity and had his statement on record. Antoine's actions were chillingly clear. He had murdered Amy in cold blood, but the question remained, why had he done it? Detectives on the case quickly learned of the volatile nature of Amy and Antoine's relationship. Interviews with family members and friends revealed the depth of the dysfunction between them. Amy had been trying to break free from Antoine for months. She had found a new direction for her life, but Antoine, still heavily involved with drugs and alcohol, refused to accept the end of their relationship. His jealousy, possessiveness, and emotional instability had been well known to those around him. What became evident was that Amy's decision to leave him, something she had planned and worked towards for months, was the final straw for Antoine. He had lost control, and the violence that followed was the result of his inability to accept his loss, even over something as trivial as his relationship ending. However, Antoine's immediate whereabouts were unknown, and the police needed to act fast before he could flee the area. Investigators were confident they would find him quickly, but despite the early momentum, Antoine managed to evade capture for several hours. His whereabouts were uncertain, and law enforcement feared that he might have fled the state or gone into hiding. But that same day, a breakthrough would come. Around 1:30 p.m., authorities received word that Antoine had been spotted in Cabarrus County, about 30 miles from Spencer. A team of law enforcement officers quickly converged on the area, working with local agencies to narrow down his location. Hours after the crime, Antoine was located and arrested without incident. He was found walking near a convenience store in a rural part of Cabarrus County. When approached by the police, he did not resist arrest, but his demeanor was notably calm. Antoine was taken into custody and brought back to Rowan County, where he was booked for the murder of the mother of his 4 children.
We are following breaking news. A man wanted for the murder of his former girlfriend this morning in the Rowan County town of Spencer is now under arrest. Good evening and thanks for joining us here. I'm Molly Grantham.
And I'm Alex Giles. The arrest comes after he was apprehended by law enforcement this afternoon in Cabarrus County. It all started just after 6 a.m. when police say Antoine Mills shot and killed Amy Waugh at their home on North Salisbury Avenue. Our David Wisden has been covering this story all day. He joins us live from the magistrate's office in Rowan County. David, sounds like you just saw that gentleman who is now in custody.
Yeah, I did, Alex, and imagine this is just a little over 11 hours after this incident was first reported this morning. I saw him within the last 10 minutes, in fact, come out of the Rowan County Magistrate's office with 2 Spencer police officers. He was taken into the Rowan County Detention Center. He's being held without bond following this murder investigation in Spencer. Just after 6 a.m., police in Spencer were called to investigate a report of shots fired near a home in the 500 block of North Salisbury Avenue,
where they did locate a female victim that was deceased from a single gunshot wound.
The victim was identified as 32-year-old Amy Waugh. Investigators said other family members, including Waugh's children and her mother, were in the home. They gathered outside while police worked the crime scene.
We have identified a suspect.
Police later identified Waugh's former boyfriend, Antoine Mills, as the suspect.
But we don't have a motive at this point, but it was, they were in a relationship previously, so we would tend to believe it may be domestic in nature.
Soon after that, he was spotted in Cabarrus County and arrested. A neighbor who did not want to be identified said seeing the crime scene in Spencer and knowing those involved was very difficult.
You know, it's very bad. It's bad. But I pray that they're able to get through it.
Very rare for the town of Spencer, typically a nice, quiet community.
His arrest brought a temporary sense of relief for Amy's grieving family. At least now they could begin the process of confronting the man responsible for taking their loved one's life. But while the police had their suspect, the emotional toll of Amy's murder was just beginning to unfold for her family and the community. Amy was a devoted mother, a loving daughter, and a devoted sister, and to lose her in such a violent, senseless way left a deep wound in their hearts. Elizabeth, Amy's sister, described Amy as someone who had a huge heart and was always willing to give to others regardless of her own struggles. The children who had witnessed their mother's death were left traumatized. Amy's 4 kids, the youngest being 6 years old, were forced to grapple with the loss that no child should ever experience. As they processed the tragedy, they were supported by social workers and counselors who provided them with the tools to deal with the trauma they had witnessed, but the emotional scars from that day would last a lifetime. The local community of Spencer, which was known for its quiet and peaceful atmosphere, was shaken by the violence. Neighbors who had known Amy for years described the murder as senseless and heartbreaking. Amy's death sparked a conversation in the community about domestic violence and the importance of recognizing the signs of abuse before it escalates to tragedy. Friends and family members who had witnessed the tension in Amy's relationship with Anton expressed regret that they hadn't been able to intervene sooner. For many, Amy's murder was a wake-up call, one that highlighted how toxic relationships can often spiral out of control without warning. With Anton in custody, the legal proceedings were set to begin. What would happen next in the courtroom, and would justice truly be served? The trial of Anton Mills began in early 2023, and it quickly became a focal point for the community of Spencer. Anton's defense team argued that he had acted in the heat of the moment, claiming that he shot Amy out of a mixture of frustration, anger, and emotional distress. They painted a picture of a man who had been living in a toxic relationship filled with constant conflict, jealousy, and heartbreak. They attempted to suggest that Anton had been pushed to a breaking point after Amy decided to end her relationship and move on with her life. However, the prosecution was firm in their stance. With the testimony from Amy's family and the physical evidence at the scene, they painted a picture of cold-blooded premeditation. Amy had made it clear that she was moving on, and Anton's response had been violent and unforgiving. His actions weren't those of a man pushed to his limits, they were those of a man who was unwilling to accept his loss of control, even over something as trivial as his relationship ending. The prosecution described Anton's violent history, his history with drugs and alcohol, and the escalating tension that had marked his relationship with Amy. They emphasized that his actions were not the result of a single moment of rage, but the culmination of a pattern of emotional instability, violence, and manipulation. After hours of deliberation, the jury reached a verdict. On July 3, 2024, Anton Mills appeared in Rowan County Superior Court. He pleaded guilty to first-degree murder, admitting responsibility for Amy's death. The decision was mixed with emotions by Amy's family. While the guilty verdict brought some sense of closure, it could never bring Amy back. The relief that justice had been served was tempered by the reality that Amy's 4 children would grow up without a mother, forever haunted by the trauma of that morning. Anton was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the first-degree murder of Amy Waugh. The sentencing was swift, and the courtroom remained silent as Anton was led away. Amy's family, though relieved that justice had been served, knew that their battle wasn't over. For them, the sentence was a necessary step, but it was a small consolation in the face of such an immense loss. The emotional scars of Amy's murder would never fully heal. In the wake of Amy's tragic death, her family came together to support her 4 young children who are now left without their mother. To help ease the financial burden and provide a stable future for them, Amy's loved ones have created a GoFundMe campaign. The funds raised will go directly to ensuring that children have everything they need. Amy was a devoted mother who worked tirelessly to provide for her children, and her family is determined to honor her memory by making sure they have the resources they need to thrive. Every contribution, no matter how small, will make a difference in giving Amy's children the love and care they deserve as they face this difficult journey ahead. If you or someone you know is experiencing abuse, please reach out to a trusted friend, family member, or organization that can help. Domestic violence is a serious issue, but it doesn't have to be the end of anyone's life. There is always hope. What do you think about it? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this story intriguing, please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.